Alrighty, we're looking at the Chang Lee case study. We'll scroll down and read the question at first, as always. Yogu's cost of preferred equity is closest to 0.06, 0.085, or 0.09. So the simplest formula here for preferred cost of equity is generally just going to be the dividend or coupon rate that's being paid. And then we're going to divide that by the price, and that's going to give us the cost of basically the overall yield. That should be the cost of the preferred equity. So we'll start reading till we get to that information. Professor Chang Lee, an expert in corporate finance, has been hired by Corporate Consultants Incorporated to advise on a suitable capital structure for Yogu Incorporated, one of its clients. Yogu, based in Anagonia, manufactures semiconductors. The company has developed a new technology to develop semiconductors that can be extensively and exclusively used in smartphones. The company plans to set up a separate subsidiary for manufacturing semiconductors exclusively for smartphones using the new technology. The company is confident that the proposed subsidiary will capture more than 80% of the market in the next few years. Pretty confident there. The cost of setting up the company works out to be $20 USD billion. The company is planning to raise the entire capital using a combination of debt and equity. It has decided to seek the services of corporate consultants for this purpose. Corporate consultants has tie-ups with academic and industry experts in corporate finance. Professor Lee estimates the WACC, weighted average cost of capital, by first assessing the cost of capital and the cost of debt. The marginal tax rate for the company is 35%. The following table captures the capital structure and related information. So we've got common equity, preferred equity, and debt. Here we go. So preferred equity, that's what we're looking for. Redeemable at a par value of $1,000 per share. The dividend yield is 8.5%, and the current share price is $9.40. So as we mentioned at the onset, we're going to be taking that dividend over the price, gives us our overall yield of 9%. Scroll down, we see we've got 0.09, which is the same as 9%. So we'll go with answer C. Question 2. Yogu's cost of common equity using the Fama-French 5-factor model is closest to. So we see we've got the Fama-French factors down here. Let's read the info up here since we left off just under this exhibit here. Professor Chang Lee uses the Fama-French 5-factor model and CAPM to estimate Yogu's cost of equity by regressing Yogu's excess returns on the relevant risk factors. A 20-year government benchmark rate of 3.5% is used as a risk-free proxy. The table below contains details on the factor betas from FF5 and CAPM, Fama-French. So this risk-free rate is also going to be important. So the Fama-French is basically going to be the risk-free rate. And then what we do is we add that to these betas just multiplied to each of the risk premiums, since these factor betas are telling us what Yogu's exposure is to each of these risk premiums. So we're going to multiply out all these betas, add the risk-free rate to it, and then that's going to give us our cost of equity essentially. So pulling that in, we see we've got that 3.5% as the risk-free rate. And then beta 1 times the risk premium of ERP, 0.75, 0.05. And then we can see it's just kind of down the line. So we've got for small minus big, 0.65 times 0.022, high minus low value, and so on and so forth. So we multiply all that out, gives us 11.4%. Answer A. Question 3. Suppose Yogu's cost of debt is 5.5%. The cost of common equity using the PRP model will be closest to. So we've got 0.115, 0.09, or 0.06. So we left off under this table. Let's keep reading. Professor Lee estimates Yogu's cost of capital using the PRP approach. There you go. Where she assumes a historical risk premium of 6% earned by equity investors relative to long-term yields. From corporate bonds, the senior partner at the company is curious how Professor Lee arrived at an ERP of 5% in his cost of equity estimation. Lee explains that he used the historical approach using an arithmetic mean and the long-term government bill rate. So looks like we have our information here. In this approach, we're going to be using to figure out the equity, basically a risk premium is telling us what additional risk we're paying for the equity above debt in order to kind of assume that risk. So we're going to be taking this cost of debt, 5.5. We're just going to add that risk premium to it, and that's going to give us our answer. And we can see that gives us 0.115 or 11.5%. Answer A. Alrighty, question 4 here. Yogu's cost of common equity using the CAPM is closest to 0.114, 0.115, or 0.0725. So we read this in the last question, but we see we have a lot of our CAPM numbers here. We have the market equity risk premium. We have the benchmark rate up here. And so it says the senior partner at the company is curious about how Professor Lee arrived at an equity risk premium of 5% in his cost of equity estimation. Lee explains that he used the historical approach using the arithmetic mean and the long-term government bill rate. So that's typically how the market risk premium in CAPM is also calculated. So we're going to be using this 5%, and then this will be our beta, and then we'll also be using the risk-free rate in that CAPM formula. So as a refresher, risk-free rate plus the beta times equity risk premium, 5%. You can see when we do all that math out, gives us 0.0725 or 7.25%. Answer C.